Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. On behalf of the International Open University Sindh Committee, I warmly welcome you all to today's live webinar. My name is Neha Khan. I'm serving as an IT support assistant and currently pursuing my BSc in psychology from IOU. Along with me is my co-host Sahar Qureshi, who is the chairman person of IOU Sindh region community and currently doing her master's in Islamic studies from IOU. Together, we are honored to be your host for this special program. International Open University was founded in 2001 by Dr. Bilal Phillips. It has grown into a truly global institution offering affordable and authentic education to students from more than 200 countries. The vision of IOU is to grant global access to quality undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate level Islamic and educational programs at virtually no cost. The mission of IUU is to be catalyst for change in the global Muslim Ummah by enabling them to contribute to the progress of human civilization. IUU accredited programs is Islamic studies, psychology, business administration, information technology, economics, Arabic language. Education undergraduate programs. IUU has also offers structured pathways in education with different levels. Bachelor of Education, which require duration of 4 to 9 years. Associate in Education, duration of 2 to 6 years. Certification in Education with duration of 1 to 3 years. Some of the sample course offerings include educational technology, educational methodology, and educational methodology, early childhood education, special needs education, English studies, Islamic studies, Global Quran Memorization Center. Alhamdulillah, IOU also provide a global Quran memorization center where students can enroll in different tahfiz and tajweed programs, starting their hifz journey from the comfort of their home. In addition, IOU has also launched the IOU Urdu campus, giving students the opportunity to access authentic Islamic knowledge in their own language. Now, it is our great honor to introduce today's speaker, Sister Bela Khan. She is PhD scholar in psychology at Lincoln University, Malaysia, with a master in psychology and an MPhil in microbiology from Quaid-e-Azam University, Pakistan. She is also a certified life coach and author of 2 books and the founder of the Islamically integrated life coaching program. Her expertise beautifully combines Islamic psychology, neuroscience, and positive psychology with a strong focus on women's comfort, resilience, and self-development. Through her teaching, counseling, and global workshops, she has inspired many to live with purpose rooted in Islamic values. Please join me in welcoming our honorable guest, Sister Bela Khan. Without further delay, I would now like to hand over the session to you.
All right, thank you very much, Nyan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How is everyone doing? And
Alhamdulillah, all good.
thank you for the introduction. And inshallah, we will get started without delaying. So, today's webinar, before we get started, it's very close to my heart. Why? Because it's a struggle that all of us share, right? Whether it's a student, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a imam of the masjid, or a life coach, or a speaker, or a psychologist, everyone is facing the same challenge. Everyone is struggling to regain their focus, right? So, whatever I am sharing, inshallah, first and foremost, it serves as a reminder for me. And then I hope that it serves as a reminder for all of you. Inshallah, I'll share my screen. Give me a moment. All right, let me know if my screen is visible. All right, you guys can see my screen, inshallah. All right.
Yes.
All right. We'll start with the most powerful reminder that we read in Quran, which is found in, of course, Surah Al-Asr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Wal Asr, by time. And we know that anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking the oath by in the Quran is significant. It is important, right? So we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking oath by the time. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, indeed, mankind is in loss. Just imagine, replace the word mankind with your name, with my name. Bela is in loss, or Aisha is in loss, or Sahar is in loss. And then, except those, of course, this is the larger premise, if you will. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes to tell that not everyone, except those who have four qualities. They believe, they do righteous deeds, they advise each other to the truth, and they advise each other to patience. So now, keeping this in mind, inshallah, we'll be exploring today's topic, inshallah, right? It is associated with Imam Razi, and I personally love it. When you read tafasir, you will find it in those tafasir that he says that I understood the meaning of Surah Al-Asr from an ice seller who was calling aloud for the attention of the people repeatedly in the bazaar, in the marketplace. And he was saying, have mercy on the one whose wealth is melting away. So his wealth essentially is what? His wealth essentially is the ice. And the ice doesn't wait for anyone, right? Ice melts. And if you have to sell ice, you have to be very meticulous. You have to do it very quickly. You have to be very mindful. Same is the case with our age. Same is the case with time. It's going, it's melting, it's passing, right? And the only thing that can protect us after Allah's mercy is the mindfulness. And especially in a world which is designed to steal our focus. The world genuinely is designed to, you can see this the premature book recommendation, but anyway, I'll recommend it later in the webinar. This world is actually designed to steal our focus. The apps are designed to take our attention away from anything else that is significant, and whether it's useless for us, it has zero value for us. So you watched a funny meme, it has absolutely zero value in your life, it has added nothing in your life, nothing significant in your life, but you would watch it. I would watch it, right? Because that's how the system is designed. But my people, we don't give up. As Muslims, we haven't learned to give up. We fight back, and we fight back with full strength. So inshallah, in this webinar, I'll try to keep it short, but since I'm a psychologist, I can't do without getting into the details of psychology and a little bit of neuroscience. But anyway, some stats. And of course, stats are there for a reason. Stats are there to tell us the trends in the world. So, average person scrolls 2 to 3 hours daily on social media. That is 28 hours per week. And my maths is not very good, but go on and calculate for a month. But if you look at the year, that's 100 over 1,000 hours per year. And if you would want to read a book, you can end up reading 200 books in this in these 2 hours. So my question for my students is, where do you want your time to go? Where do you want your time to go? In scrolling, which gives you nothing at the end of the year, or nothing at the end of the day either, or in being able to identify that, see, these books, I have read them. And of course, when you read the book, it changes a life. Just one book can change your life. More stats. Average attention span dropped from 12 seconds to 8 seconds today. Have you identified that the what do you call it? Short video reels, yeah, reels, and there's some other thing in Facebook, probably you call them something else, or YouTube shorts, yeah. YouTube shorts and reels, they're getting shorter and shorter. The shorter the better, right? So each reel is competing to do more foolish stuff to be able to capture your attention. The more foolish, the better. The more the shorter, the better. Because of course we have to go from one reel to another, we have to jump from another reel to one reel to another, right? 70% of the students admit to checking phones during study sessions. So you're studying and you're like scrolling, and you're like 3 hours have passed. You're like, yeah, what? I'm coming back and I'm seeing that okay, this took a lot. Then multitasking reduces productivity by 40%, and this is not healthy form of multitasking. I mean, some people argue that mental work cannot be multitasked, and I probably completely agree. But of course, as women, we know that we can multitask in the kitchen and laundry and cleaning the dishes, all of that. But that's another story. If you are mentally juggling, right? So you memorized one page, or you tried to understand one page, and you tried to perhaps solve one math problem, and then all of a sudden you are scrolling. Some studies say that it takes 20 minutes for your mind to get back to the topic, to get back into what you were studying, right? So multitasking reduces productivity by 40%. So if you were to finish, let's say, one task in 20 minutes, oh my god, my maths is horrible. You will probably end up finishing it, you just increase like an hour or more, right? So this is what scrolling does to you, or this is what switching from study to scrolling, or to seeing the social media does to you. All right, so my people, scrolling is easy, it is addictive, it is endless. Studying is effortful, and both fight for the same limited resource, our attention. Our attention is a very, very limited resource. Why? Because even your day has 24 hours, you sleep for 8 hours, 16 hours left. Even on those 16 hours, you cannot give 100% attention to everything in those 16 hours. Even in those 16 hours, those attention span, or our attention, is limited. So we need to see what are the primary things that we are, of course, dedicating our attention to. All right. So, of course, as students, our grades and future, the success of our future depends on focus, scrolling, and please do not misconstrue what I'm saying. Of course, everything else after the mercy of Allah, after the rahmah of Allah, after the will of Allah, right? This is a assumption between sorry, this is an assumption behind what I'm saying. This is a something that we have already internalized. So scrolling drains our focus, energy, and motivation. And of course, studying builds knowledge, skills, and discipline. And how does this happen? I'm going to be explaining in a while. Now we enter a very, very significant part of our discussion. I take a lot of inspiration from this ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, innamal khamru wal maisiru wal ansabu wal azlamu rijsum min amal shaitan. O you who have believed, indeed intoxicants, gambling, stone altars, and divining arrows are but the defilement from the work of shaitan. If you are familiar with Arabic terminology, it's a very strict expression. It's a very intense expression. رِجْسًا مِنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ. So avoid them. لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. So that you may be successful. Now, why do I bring here this ayah here in this conversation? And I'm not claiming to be a mufassir. I'm not saying that I'm doing the tafsir of this ayah, anything. But if you link this ayah to psychology, and that's where Islamic psychology is very helpful. See, um, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us to avoid intoxicants, right? Intoxicants, gambling, stone altars. And see, there is uh, there is this neurotransmitter. I hope that I'm not getting into very technical terms, but anyway, there is dopamine, and everyone is familiar with dopamine these days. It's a brain's motivational and reward chemical, right? So how is dopamine produced? Dopamine is produced as a result of any meaningful activity that you engage in, right? Something spiritually beneficial. You engage in some charity work, in some community service. You engage in something, your relationship strengthens. You did something for strengthening your relationship. As a result of all of this, healthy amount of dopamine is produced in our system. That healthy amount of dopamine, it's very important to building long-term satisfaction instead of this quick tha or quick high that gambling or intoxicant gives us, right? We'll talk about it in a while. This kind of dopamine, it is linked to focus. So the more this kind of dopamine, the more we are able to focus, the better our memory work, the more resilient we are in the face of troubles. You might have seen people these days, they cannot contain anything. Their resilience is so bad, they just lash it out at people, right? And once they fall down, it's very hard for them to get back. So resilience is a major problem in this day and age, right? Of course, Islam encourages which pathway? Islam encourages the pathway of knowledge, worship, service that sustain healthy dopamine, right? And Islam does not approve of anything that directly produce dopamine without any meaningful activity, right? And this is what these intoxicants do, right? These intoxicants, khamr, maisir, ansab, al azlam, what do? They trick the brain by stimulating the pleasure centers directly without letting pleasure arise naturally from meaning work, right? So if you were to see dopamine, natural production of dopamine would be something like dopamine is equal to meaningful activity plus dopamine, right? So it's a byproduct of that meaningful activity. But intoxicants and all of these, they are like, they lead to direct production of dopamine without any meaningful activity. Now, what happens is that, when you're gambling, that tha, or when you are taking that intoxicants, whatever that drug is, the the pleasure that it creates, that pleasure becomes the end goal in and of itself. There is so much the nirvana that we achieve as a result of the direct production of dopamine, right? And it is again detached from the purpose. It is not produced as a result of meaningful activity, right? These dopamine surges are unnatural in magnitude, right? The ta is very high. That production is too high. So routine effort may give you 100 units of dopamine, and dopamine, by the way, is something that is measurable. With the, of course, with the technology that this advancement has given us, right? So let's say routine effort, anything that you did to naturally produce the dopamine was 100 units of dopamine, right? But these drugs, these gambling can multiply that many times over, so perhaps 1,000, God knows. And now what happens? Addicts chase the first high for life because, of course, any pleasure that you achieve for the first time is not something that you're going to get the next time, because of course the threshold has increased. Eventually it's no longer about pleasure, it's about avoiding the pain, that if I don't take that drug, um wallahi, my people, the same is the why am I bringing this discussion here? Same is the case with scrolling, same is the case with social media. You put your phone aside and you pass a day, it would be very hard for you to pass the day because you're not getting that ta, you're not getting that high, right? So scrolling is similar to intoxicants in a way that it's a dopamine slot machine. It's every notification, every like or every post, it's giving you the reward, and the reward is creating dopamine, right? And there's this thing called variable reward schedule, which follows the same principle that is behind gambling machine, right? Gambling machine. A person engaged in gambling, you might have heard, they end up losing everything. They sell their property, they sell their car, they sell sometimes their wife's jewelry, sometimes they sell everything, and they're at zero and they're not done yet. They want to have that high again, that nirvana again, which do not get. And those gambling machines, the again, the reward that they keep giving you keep chasing that. So the brain craves the next scroll, just like the brain craves the next drug, or just like the brain craves the next gambling game, because it might deliver something more exciting, more pleasurable, more fun, right? And then there is a phenomena that we call dopamine tolerance. It develops so if you have scrolled for 1 hour yesterday, you're going to be scrolling for 1 hour today, but yesterday it gave you higher dopamine levels. Today, the body has created threshold, and the body has created that tolerance. You need more. 1 hour is not going to do the job. You need 2 hours perhaps. Exactly same with the drug. Lower level of drugs, you take it for the first time, they create that experience, right? The second time you take the same level of drugs, they don't create the same experience. So you take more and you keep taking more, right? That's what this addiction is. This behavioral addiction is. So if you look at it from here, right? So let's say you're bored, you have nothing else to do, or perhaps you have things to do, but you want um that high. You take an action. What action do? You open the social media and you start scrolling. And as you're scrolling, you're seeing various memes. You're seeing that the meme that you shared is getting likes, and there are like 10 more followers on Instagram. And so the brain, the reward system, it works in a loop, right? So every or you have, there is some fascinating or sensational news that you have seen, or perhaps you have learned a new way of applying the eyeshadow or losing the weight. I'm also very fond of watching weight loss videos, and you would know that people who watch weight loss videos, they watch more videos than actually engaging in the process itself, right? So what it does, it gives you the dopamine spike, right? So that felt good. I kept scrolling, and that was like fun. And then how brain functions again, your neuroscience is that the brain remembers. The brain remembers it was fun, and the cycle repeats, and the cycle repeats. So this is the reason I'm just going to check Instagram for like 5 minutes, and half an hour's pass, and perhaps 2 hours, 3 hours pass, and you have no idea. You don't realize, right? So now, similarly, let's dig a little bit into the neuroscience of scrolling and the rewards. Sorry, my apologies. There's a typo um, in the caption. It says neuroscience of studying, right? So when you're studying, what happens is that this also produces dopamine, but in a different way, right? So when you solve a problem, when you grasp a concept, that finally you can explain that concept to someone, fine, when you finish the task, since we are in academia, for the most part, we are either grading the assignments, or sometimes we are writing our own papers, or sometimes we are supervising students. So every time a task is done, we get that ta, right? We get that to dopamine spike. Now, this is a delayed reward, right? But the difference is that it is sustainable because it is produced as a result of a meaningful activity. I hope that would have memorized this by now. This is produced as a result of a meaningful activity. Now, uh, this phenomena that we call neuroplasticity, right? So the idea behind is that our brain is plastic. I'm not getting into the details, but that's the idea behind it. Studying strengthen connections in the hippocampus, in the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex is like your decision making center. You're like, it's a analytical brain, it's your problem solving brain, it's your logical thinking brain. So again, the more you're studying, let's say you ended up solving a couple of math problems, the more you are solving those problems, the more proficient you're becoming in solving those problems. Or in biology, if you have understood the circulatory system, perhaps understanding the respiratory system would be easier now, because brain has formed new neural connections. But if you're studying something for the first time, like I have no idea about how, let's say, let's say Greek, Greek language, I have no idea about it. So if I start studying it, it would take a lot of effort, right? But the more I study, the more neural connections will be made in my head, right? Those connections will be strengthened. And as I explore deeper into it, it will become easier, right? So build long-term circuits instead of shallow ones, and shallow ones are formed by, of course, scrolling. And most of the time, if I were to ask you what were the last 5 reels that you saw, I can guarantee with at least 95% confidence that most of us would not be able to recall. We can have vague idea, yeah, perhaps I saw a weight loss video, and then I saw, um, I don't know. I saw a funny meme, and I saw something else. You cannot tell that in sequence. You cannot tell, because this system is just designed to steal your focus and not to strengthen your focus. Anything that is short span is definitely going to be affecting your memory, right? So if you were to look in a nutshell, neuroscience of studying and scrolling, and the reward system. So scrolling is effortless, but when you're studying, it's effortful. But scrolling gives you that dopamine spike, quick highs, instant reward. However, in studying, dopamine is tied to mastery and achievement. So you're not going to get that dopamine when you are solving the math problem. You're going to get that dopamine rush or dopamine spike when you have solved the problem, right? So there's no instant reward. And if you look at the whole Islamic philosophy, subhanAllah, the instant rewards are not something that is something really encouraged, because even Jannah is, in one way, it's delayed gratification, is a result of delayed gratification. You control your nafs today, tomorrow you're going to get Jannah. And Jannah is not, you can control your nafs today, and right here in front of you is Jannah. Delayed gratification, delayed reward, right? Scrolling, prefrontal cortex shutdowns. Yani your ability to be able to process things, solve the problem, logic, everything shuts down. However, studying, it helps your prefrontal cortex to form, to be able to focus, to have new neural pathways. The memory increases. The scrolling, it leads to distraction and craving. The more you scroll, the more you would want to scroll. However, studying, it increases resilience, it increases patience, it increases that sense of satisfaction that the scrolling will never give you. One of the questions that I usually ask my students, that what is the post scrolling feeling, right? So you're done scrolling, you have had that dopamine spike. After that, you have the dopamine drop, the sharp decline in the dopamine, right? So the post scrolling feeling is really bad. Oh, I wasted my time. Then one of the questions that I asked, like post pizza feeling. Post pizza feeling is really, really bad, right? You feel bad, you regret it. You are like, why did I take in so much calorie? And this is this small comparison that I did. So scrolling is shallow processing. You get the info, but you totally forget it, right? If there's just the question that I asked you guys. How many of you remember that? How many the sequence of the reels that you watched, or the last five reels that you watched? Very hard, right? I don't remember. Studying it's a deep process, and as a result of it, the information is stored in long-term memory, right? So if I were to ask you, can you explain me can you explain the feedback loop to me? Most likely you can. Most likely you can, because it's a deep process, right? So it's just like eating junk food versus healthy food. The post junk food feeling is really, really bad, right? You regret, you would want to undo it, so on and so forth. This is again John Harry's book, Stolen Focus. One of the best so far. See, when we recommend something from the Western standpoint, or when we recommend something, I'm very averse to recommending these things anyway. It doesn't mean that we are endorsing the entire person and his philosophy and his life and his character and his religion. No, it's just endorsing the major part of the work that we are sharing with you. That if this book has problematic stuff, it does have, like everything that the West produce does have something that is not in line with our religion. It's okay, we can always filter that and take what is good, right? So again, this book is, by the way, too intense, right? It gets into a lot of areas that perhaps not directly related to our conversation, but it just gets into the deep discussion on how this world is again designed to steal our focus, right? So he expands this idea, arguing that, yeah, so the point that I was making here is that our inability to focus is not entirely our problem or entirely our weakness, right? So he says that our inability to concentrate is not just individual weakness, but a societal crisis shaped by tech design, stress, poor sleep, and even pollution, and he calls this an attention rebellion problem. So he more or less he shares some 12 factors that are stealing our focus. So information overload, you have information coming from all directions. There's flood in Pakistan, there is a hurricane in America, there is like something else in some other part of the world. So there's a lot of information. And you know, if you there's a term called FOMO, fear of missing out, which essentially mean that if you are not checking your social media every 5 minutes, then there's something that you're missing out. And that fear, it makes you check the social media again and again. Constant switching. So from Instagram to Facebook to, I don't know. So the technology has again been designed to be addictive. The decline of deep reading. So how many of us take the book and read? And deep reading, and again, I'm a person who's not fond of speed reading and all of that. I'm very fond of deep reading, right? So you're engaged with the text, you are internalizing the text. But then that is not the case in this day and age anymore, since it is replaced by reels. So of course, again, stress and exhaustion. So we are very stressed. There is so much fitna attacking us from all directions, poor diet and pollution. So he goes on to discuss these things. So I just wanted to add this slight tangent here, that of course this is not entirely our problem, this is not entirely our weakness, but this is entirely our battle. This is entirely 100% our battle. And when you move towards solution, you know that Prophet ﷺ said, take the advantage of five before five, right? Your youth before your old age. My people, we can do in our young age what perhaps our parents cannot do. And those of you who are seeing their parents aging, you would agree with me that, you know, they were our superheroes once upon a time. They would get things done, they would climb the mountain, and they're unable to do it now. So looking at them probably should serve as a lesson for us that, you know, what we can do today, we might not be able to do tomorrow. Perhaps we would have more money tomorrow than what we have today, but the energy, everything is declining. Your health before your sickness. And again, this is something that we keep experiencing all the time. When we are sick, we cannot do a lot of things that when we can do when we are healthy. Your wealth before your poverty, your free time before your preoccupation. So again, perhaps you're young today, you're 17, 18, you are Gen Z, and you have time because your parents are earning for you, your mother is cooking for you, so you have all the free time in the world. But tomorrow you will be very occupied. Alpha will grow up, your children will grow up, and or but I don't know which generation do we have today, and you will have to raise them, and this will preoccupy you. And then you'll miss the time. Oh, how I wish I had memorized Quran earlier. Oh, how I wish I had, done that course earlier to be able to make more sense of my life. And then you'll have no time. And your life before you're dead, because on deathbed, you would perhaps, I think that's the time that we will perhaps regret the most. May Allah protect us, inshallah. And then seeking ilm, we all know this hadith, it's a path to Jannah. So time spent in study, when it is done with pure intention, when it is done with the right intention, it is ibadah. It is nothing else but, you know, obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and every act of obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an ibadah, right? Um, Moving right along, what's the solution? Again, I have another recommendation. Perhaps the previous writer, John Harry, would not agree with Carl Newport because he gives the solution which probably John Harry called John Harry or Johan Harry, yeah. He calls it quick fixes or digital detox, something like that. But this is another very good book, and I remember to have read this book in one go, right? In one go. I was truly impressed by the writer because so many experience that he brings, there's so many examples that he brings in. And then he suggests various different solutions, right? Various different solutions depending upon which phase of life you're in, your inclinations, your sort of your personal likes, dislikes, and so on, right? My apologies. Anyway, I have a few solutions that has worked for me. Hope that this can work, continue to work for me, and I hope that this can work for you as well, my people. First up, start with self-awareness, right? So if you were to really identify the time thieves, like what is exactly stealing your time, make a list of everything that you do in a day and assign hours. Had this been an interactive workshop, I would have definitely paused here and I would have asked you to take your time and make a list, right? So for example, we wake up for Fajr, perhaps half an hour Fajr, Quran, and all of that, and then we cook 2 hours for cooking, and then we clean, and then we do. I mean, depending upon where in life you are, perhaps if you're in Gen Z, then I do this. This is, you will find that after listing all the work that you do in a given normal day, you'll not be able to locate some of the hours. Right? You count that this makes 17 hours. This make 18 now. Where are those other hours going? Right? And then you will find out perhaps they're lost scrolling, perhaps they're lost unnecessarily chatting with a friend, with mom, with someone else on online. Right? So again, track how many hours are you spending scrolling per day. That's where the story starts from. If you have no self-awareness, if you don't know, what is stealing your focus, then we cannot do anything about it, right? Then we studied about the habit loop. You're bored, there's nothing to do, you grab your phone. You can always train your brain to grab something else, right? So if you can see that there are a lot of books around, when you have books around, you will end up grabbing a book, right? Keep phone in another room while studying. So making it inaccessible physically really helps. So you want to reach out for your phone, there is no phone. There is no phone. Reward yourself with limited social media after focused study. So of course, I'm not suggesting social media is all evil. Of course, it's a tool. It depends upon how you use it, right? A lot of you might have heard of IOU from the social media itself. So we actually advocate for occupying the space of social media in such a way that your online time also becomes a form of ibadah. You're learning something new. You're, even if you're watching a reel, there's something khair in it. And of course, Carl Newport, he suggests that delete social media apps from your phone and use only desktop with strict limits. Then there's a technique that is known as Pomodoro technique, right? Which says that 20 to 25 minutes of sharp focus, right? So if I have a book, I set my target that I'm going to be studying this book for 20 minutes sharp. I set up an alarm. 20 minutes later, and make sure that you have that alarm on the mechanical or the not mechanical clock, not the digital clock, right? Um, you set up that alarm. After 20 minutes, the alarm goes and you're like, okay, I can take a break. 5 minutes break, drink water, move around, go around. Don't take social media break, by the way. 5 minutes, the social media can turn into 15 minutes in no time. 50 minutes, 50, 50 minutes, right? You go around, check, you know, deep, engage in some deep breathing, drink water, come back, right? So after you have had 4 sessions, like 25 minutes, then 5 minutes, 25 minutes, then 5 minutes break, then 25 minutes, 4 times you do that, take a longer break, right? That really helps fight the urge to scroll, and that also allows you to engage in deep work, focused work. Then there should be some digital boundaries. There should at least be some zones which are phone free zones. So if you're going to masjid, perhaps that's not a good time. If you're going to park, unless you have to listen to a lecture or something. Or there should be some place in the house that should be tech free. Again, neuroassociation, my people. The brain tends to form associations. So if you're always taking our phone to our bed, the next time we won't take our phone to our bed, the brain will start sending us the reminder, where's the phone? Where's the phone? Where's the phone? Because the brain has learned to associate your bed with the phone. So if you don't have the phone, you'll have this this restlessness, this uneasy feeling, right? Then there are website blockers that personally I haven't used it, but I have learned from other people that there are website blockers that help. Uninstalling distracting apps, especially during exam, they help, right? Then of course, my people, mindset shift. Reading one book, you know, it would take you ahead of 50 average people in your life because people don't read. People don't read, right? So studying is like building our future, building the future of the ummah. And scrolling is consuming others' lives. It's like you wake up and you start working on someone else's agenda. So yani, the reels are someone else's agenda. Social media is someone else's agenda. Email box is someone else's agenda. So I need to understand, do I want to be a creator where I'm studying, where I'm creating stuff, I'm perhaps proposing theories, or do I want to be a consumer? I just want to be an audience watching other people's life, working on other people's agenda, right? Then, of course, we take our inspiration from the fact that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says that yadullahi faqal jama'a. My apologies, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala did not say that. We learned that yadullahi faqal jama'a, that Allah's support is with the jama'ah. So work done in jama'ah has barakah associated with it. If you know, I usually see that in Ramadan, praying Taraweeh, long rakat of Taraweeh becomes so easy because everyone else is doing it. And if you have to pray Taraweeh at home, then it's so difficult. It's so difficult, right? So to keep putting the debate aside that whether women should go to masjid or not, but just saying, right? Let's even if they're men, praying Taraweeh with Jama'ah, praying, even your 4 rakah with Jama'ah is far more convenient than doing it alone. And that is the reason that the concept of Jama'ah is so stressed in Islam. Then there is an accountability. If you don't show up for the study session, people ask, where are you? And of course, when you have accountability in place, when you have support in place, this results in better grades. And this is again very, very important point, my people. Very important point. Have a purpose in life, right? So there is like, if you were to ask me what is the most important solution, is to have the meaningful life, right? When you have a meaningful life, then everything else falls into place, right? So when I wake up in the morning, I know that I have, a whole to-do list in which I'm trying to build something. I'm trying to contribute into the world, meaningfully into the world. I'm trying to, change the state of the ummah. Then there's very less time left, very limited time left for useless activity, right? But if there is nothing significant in my life to be done, then all the solutions that I have shared so far are going to be very difficult to act upon. Once you have purpose in place, every other solution becomes easy. Everything else falls into place. Right? And finally, my people, make dua. Ya Allah, please protect me and my children from the fitna of social media. Ya Allah, please help me regain my focus. Ya Allah, please help me study. Ya Allah, please help me get rid of scrolling. Ya Allah, please give me, um, give me najah from this habit or this addiction of scrolling. That works the best. So my people, inshallah. And of course, we know that especially the time of the day, post Fajr hours, as they say that they are barakah filled hours. So when we start studying, especially in that half of the day, in that part of the day, especially in my student's life, I was not a night out at all. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, my battery would fuse, and I would always wake up early to engage in studying, and I would see that something that would take half an hour post Fajr would take me 4 hours in any other part of the day. Wallahi, I have had sort of an experiment once. So because again, when you are studying at high levels, masters, MPhil, so there are difficult concepts to grasp, right? It gets more and more complicated. So post Fajr hours are always, so you do not wake up and waste all those barakah filled hours um scrolling. That's the worst thing perhaps we can do to ourselves. So all right, my people, I'm ending with what we started off. The system is designed to steal our focus, and we are fighting back. Barakallahu fikum wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Let me know if I have to take any questions, or is it
Yes,
a
Alhamdulillah, that was truly enlightening and inspiring. Jazakallah khair, Sister Bella, for sharing such valuable insight. Now we will ask some questions. We have one question from Anmol Shaukat. Please recommend some books so we can read and learn instead of scrolling.
that largely depends upon what your field of study is. So two books I recommended if you want to like really work on your focus. Two books I've already recommended. But generally, it depends on which field do you want to explore. If you want to explore the field of Islamic psychology, we have the one of the best books to start with is the book of Aisha Uds. It's somewhere in my library, uh, or perhaps somewhere here and there, right? So Aisha Uds, um, the name of the book is Psychology from the Islamic Perspective. That's a good place to start. Malik Badri's books are good, so on and so forth. So let me know if you want to study again more on psychology. Then Dr. Hussein's books are good. That's my field. That's what I can recommend. If you want to explore Islam, then perhaps you have to see um, what your current standing is. So perhaps books on Aqidah, that's a good place to start. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Depends on your field.
Okay. We have second question. There are times when I'm not using the phone at all, but still I can hear music in my head. How to avoid that? I try to listen to Quran, but I can't do that every time. Like in exam, especially when I'm trying to focus what to write.
Yes, this is very right, because when you are doing something for the most part of the day, or perhaps if you were like us, like in Jahiliyyah, we were raised with music, and it was really hard for us to take it out of our head. So my people, the only thing is that you cannot leave your mind as an empty place. You have to replace it with something, right? So perhaps, and this is not a general recommendation for everyone, but people who are very habitual of listening to music, they can replace it with nasheed. My apologies. Then people who are habitual of listening to nasheed may replace it with Quran. People who are habitual of listening to the Quran, they may start reciting Quran themselves, right? So again, it depends upon which level of practice you are at. So yeah, you have to give your brain a suitable replacement to be able to that take that thing out. It's just like you cannot take all the furniture out of your room and then leave your room empty. Then when you are going to what are you going to do about it? The brain would want to fill in the gaps. So you have to provide brain with healthy alternative. I hope this answers the question.
Okay. The last question we have is how to set a best timetable.
All right. So, see, the best timetable is, of course, it depends upon again which time of the year it is. If it's closer to your exam, then the timetable would be different. But what I would encourage you to do is to set your timetable around Salah, starting with Fajr. And, subhanAllah, just today, post Fajr, I was contemplating how barakah filled time it is. You can get so much done. You can get so much done in those hours that again it's very difficult. So if especially if you're a student, I would highly encourage you to utilize those hours. And I can tell that subhanallah, in this time and age there are very few of us who are doing so. And of course this is the reason that we are behind in almost everything. My people, if you read the narration or the accounts of non-Muslim successful people, I mean, of course, they are just successful in this worldly terms, but whoever successful people that you can think of, most of them, 90% of them are early risers. They would have some ritual um, in the morning. SubhanAllah, so much so that they ended up writing 5 a.m. club. Imagine, it's a non-Muslim writing that. So again, I would encourage you to utilize those hours, and you will see that in the rest of the day, the next half of the day, things will fall into place, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Bella, for answering the questions. Now, before we close, I'm pleased to announce that we have another upcoming webinar on 27th of August, inshallah. The topic will be AI and spirituality, and our speaker will be Ishaq bin Sadiq. We warmly invite all of you to join us for that insightful session as well. If you would like to contact with us or learn more, here are the details. We have the contact contact details, we have our website and email address on the screen. Um, Now I would like Sister Bella to recite the dua to end
Sure.
this session.
آخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
Alhamdulillah, we have reached the conclusion of today's webinar. On behalf of IUU Sindh Committee, we sincerely thank you for our honorable speaker, our organizing team, and all of you for joining us. May Allah accept this effort, bless us with beneficial knowledge, and guide us to act upon it in our lives.